Good evening.
Good evening, Vuyo.
Thanks very much for your time. Now, you are here, Deputy Chief Justice, ostensibly to appeal to South Africans that they should come forward. What do you think have been the reasons for the less than optimal, if you may put it like that, sort of response to your previous calls?
It's difficult to be sure exactly what the reasons are, but I can imagine that some of the reasons are that some people who might have knowledge of the kind of information and incidents that the Commission is interested in, some of the people who have knowledge of that information might be fearful that if they disclose certain information about certain people, they may be harmed, or that they may lose their jobs, depending on where they work. So there may be those, but also some people, I think, initially thought that maybe these commissions are not helpful, so that might have discouraged some people. But I believe that when it comes, certainly in regard to the commission that I chair, because that's the one that I've really been involved in, I believe that people have seen that what has been coming out there reveals that the people who are in the commission are working very hard to dig deep and try and get more and more evidence of wrongdoing, of corruption, allegations of state capture. And I think that by now there should be more people who are interested in cooperating with the Commission and giving the Commission evidence. Of course, there are a number of people who have come forward, and we are grateful to them, including some ministers who have come forward, some past directors general, and at least I can remember a deputy director general who has given evidence in regard to matters that they had personal knowledge of. I'm very grateful for those, but I do believe that there are still many people, especially when one talks about past and present ministers, past and present DGs, deputy DGs, national government departments, in provincial government departments, CEOs of parastatals who haven't come forward and who must be knowing something about state capture and about corruption. So I would like to appeal to everyone, but I'm not talking simply about those high-ranking people. I'm talking about everyone, because there must be many people who know a lot of things that happened, but for one or other reasons haven't come forward. We would like them to come forward. We believe that the levels of corruption in our country have reached completely unacceptable proportions. Of course, the allegations of state capture is something of serious concern to many of us. It should be something of serious concern to all of us. And we want people to come forward, because without people cooperating with the process, with the Commission, and coming forward, the Commission can't be successful, and we want it to be successful because we are building our country to be a better country. A country with these kinds of levels of corruption is not the kind of country that we can be proud of. And nobody's going to build it for us to be a better country. Only we can do that. And we would like people to come forward and help us.
Let's take the first part of that answer, Deputy Chief Justice. Do you blame the people who fear that harm, as you put it, may come their way if they were to come forward? And just to contextualize that a bit, to someone who sees an Agritzi being charged, for example, after all the revelations that he has made, and of course we're still taking him on his account of what actually happened. Right? A person who sees something like that happening, all right? I know you have no control over state law enforcement agencies that decide to charge him. But then they don't see a Gavin Watson, being charged. Even if they were persuaded at some point to come forward, they may just stop right there.
No, I agree, and that is why I was very concerned when that happened, when those arrests happened. Not because I'm saying that people in respect of whom the police and law enforcement agencies have evidence of criminal activity should not be dealt with by way of the criminal processes or the criminal justice system, but the timing was very unacceptable. And as you point out, when you look at people who were actually helping the commission, I mean, Mr. Agrizi says himself, has said in his evidence, I was involved in this and that is against the law, but I am helping the commission and I want to cooperate. I'm cooperating. And then when people then see that other people who are not helping the commission, nothing is happening to them, I agree that that could deter people who want to assist. But I just want to, well, we got information in regard to that because I asked that, certain people within the commission should find out exactly what was going on. We got information that the arrest did not emanate from the evidence that he gave in the commission, but it related to another different investigation, and that there was a certain audit report which was not connected with the audit report that about which he had testified of the SIU, and that it was something separate that had been used. But it's true, when people see those things happen, some people may be deterred. But I think that the answer is really that while on the one hand, people are entitled to have a look and say, this is what may happen. We must go back and look at the history of this country. We attained our freedom not because there was nobody who was fearful, but nevertheless because there were sufficient numbers of people who were prepared to sacrifice, who were prepared to fight, who were prepared to leave the country, who were prepared to be subjected to all kinds of victimization, arrest, Robben Island, exile, be separated from their families because they believed that there was a good cause. Right now, I believe that the issue of making sure that the levels of corruption in this country are brought to absolute minimum is good cause that every one of us should fight for.
Let's go then to the second part of your previous answer,
yes.
Deputy Chief Justice.
Yes.
You have said that you are grateful
yes.
that some ministers, directors general,
yes.
and the like came forward. But then you had among those people, let's take last week's former cabinet minister who says, well, at that NEC meeting when I spoke about, state capture, the Guptas and what have you, there was an NEC member who took me to task, but I won't reveal the name.
Yes, yes.
You've heard previously Minister Pravin Gordhan saying, I know of my fellow cabinet colleagues who were part of or who were an agent of state capture, but I'm not going to reveal the names. You have heard the former president, Jacob Zuma, saying, no, I'm not implicated in any of this. So I don't think I need to come forward or cross-examine anything. What does that do then to your work?
Yes.
The optics, how people then see. They say, well, people can get away with saying whatever they want to say and not say anything that they don't want to say. Is it enough for the former president to say, I'm not implicated there? Is the commission going to leave it there?
Well, let me maybe deal with these issues one by one. One, with regard to the former president, he is entitled to say, I take the view that I'm not implicated by this particular witness, but as the commission, we are entitled to take our own view as well. And we are looking at all the evidence, and everyone that we believe has important information about what we are investigating. will be asked to come and share that information with us, with the commission, and be questioned. So he is entitled to say, I take the view that I'm not implicated, that's fine. The commission will look at the statements that have been given and then the statements that will still be given and take a view with regard to whether it believes that he is implicated or should come forward. I have said already that certainly he was the head of state during the time when a lot of things are alleged to have happened. He would have to come forward. I believe from what I was told by his lawyers that he will cooperate, and if asked to come to the commission, he would come. So definitely I believe that everyone who has important information that relates to what we are investigating will come and present evidence in the commission and be questioned. Now, with regard to certain ministers who have said, well, I know some people, and they have not given the names. We have not sometimes insisted that they give those names because sometimes they have said so in circumstances where the statements that they had given to the evidence leaders and the investigators did not include those names. And the idea has not been to leave things just like that hanging, but the idea has been that subsequently the investigators and the evidence leaders can then look into that, investigate, and in due course, if something is found that is relevant for the commission, come back, and then those people could be called. But the point you raise is quite also important because we have a situation where there are lots of people who say they don't want corruption. They are fighting corruption. But it's not in what we say, it's in what we do that we are going to find assistance as far as the commission. Now, when some of the witnesses who have given evidence, I have said to them, one of the things that I will have to look at some stage in the work of the commission is who could have done what to assist and to prevent or arrest state capture. And I would look at certain bodies, certain organizations, certain government functionaries, and so on. And in this regard, one certainly can look at the ruling party, the governing party, to say it had been voted into power by the electorate of South Africa. It had one of its members, its leader as the president. It had ministers. When did they get to see that there were certain problems as the governing party? And what did they do? All of those issues need to be looked at. Parliament, it has oversight functions over government. When did it become aware? What did it do? We are going to need that everybody should really support the commission, not so much by what they say, but by what they do to support the commission.
Of course, we owe the existence of the commission to the Public Protector's report.
Yes.
And the Gupta family had a lot to do with that. Now, they offered to testify, as long as it wasn't here. They can do it via satellite, whether it's from Dubai or whatever part of the world they may be in. You turned their offer down with the benefit of hindsight. Was that a good decision or the best decision you could take?
A very good decision.
Why?
I have absolutely no doubt about it. One, on grounds of law, which are set out in the decision that I gave. But two, also in terms of policy attitude, you have to be very careful about people who run away from a legal system, because that's what it amounted to. That's on their own evidence in terms of affidavits that they gave. They ran away from this legal system, and they didn't want to cooperate with law enforcement agencies here. They ran away, And then when they are out there, then they say, well, we won't come back, but we are happy to give you evidence from here. I don't know if you had a chance to read that decision and the reasons I gave, but one of the problems which could have arisen is that because they were outside the borders of South Africa, if they gave untruthful evidence deliberately, there was nothing we could do about it. So I think that was a very good decision. I said in the decision that if they came back, because of how implicated they are, I would allow them leave. I would grant them leave to cross-examine. Yeah.
You don't think, as some people have argued, there is a bit of inconsistency there in that you allowed experts to take us through what state capture is, and to do that via satellite from another jurisdiction? Where did you draw the distinction?
Well, the decision that I gave deals with that as well, because it was raised in argument, It says that it was made quite clear to them that they would have to come here and give evidence. And one of them did come, which was enough because those two experts, they gave evidence even when they were giving evidence via a video link. They did so on the basis that the work that they'd done it jointly. So for all intents and purposes, even if you have got one who comes here, he is able to testify about everything. Of course, also at that stage, it was right at the beginning, and there were question marks, and I raised this with the evidence leaders to say, there is a question mark about this. But then that's why I said, provided they can come back here and give evidence, let's do it. So now with the Guptas, they were not in the same situation. They were not saying, can we give evidence via video link now, but when we come back to South Africa, we will then come to the commission. They were saying, we are not coming back to South Africa, but take our evidence from where we are. And it's dealt with in the decision.
Let's talk also about two things that arise from what you just said. One is cross-examination. Several parties have applied for the right to cross-examine people who have said things about them. That's the one part that there is a lot of complaints about. The other one, which is also linked to that, is people who have been implicated saying that they don't get given enough or sufficient time to sort of know first about people who are going to implicate them, but also enough time so that they can collate their own evidence to counter whatever it is that those people have to say about them.
Well, I can understand that there may be implicated persons who say we were not told sufficiently well in advance that so-and-so was going to give evidence. That I can understand, and it can happen, but I think everything is done on the side of the legal team of the commission to try and make sure that people are told in advance. Sometimes the time might not be enough. But what has not, as far as I remember, what has not happened, we haven't had a situation where an implicated person says, I'm not ready yet to come and deal with this, and then we have forced them to come. Instead, I think people who might complain might be those who say, it's taking long before I get my chance. So I'm not aware of any implicated person who has been rushed. So people have had enough time to file their responding affidavits or statements, and in terms of being asked to come and give evidence. So certainly that problem hasn't arisen. Yes.
Deputy Chief Justice, we have run out of time, but there's two issues I have to ask you.
Yes.
One is whether you think you're going to the commission is going to be able and finish, to do its work and finish it by December?
Let me say
at the rate we're going.
let me say this. We regard the expeditious finalization of the work of the commission as quite important. We want to try and finish it as soon as possible, but we don't want to compromise the quality of the work. At least at this stage, our target is to try and finish at least the oral evidence, the hearing of oral evidence by end of December. If we can achieve that, and all that might remain after that is the writing of the report, I would be happy. But as I said when we applied to the High Court for the extension of time, you can never be sure because until you have heard all the witnesses, because as we sit here in March, we don't know what a witness who will come in July will come up with. They may come up with all kinds of things which might require more people to be asked to come and give evidence. But we are alive to the fact that people would like this commission to finish its work as soon as possible, and we are doing everything we can to make sure that we don't delay unnecessarily. We have even begun starting early in terms of hearings. We used to start at 10. We now very often start at 9:30, sometimes at 9 o'clock. As we proceed, we'll do more of that, and we finish late, 4:30, 5. We'll be doing a lot of that. So all I can say is we are doing everything we can to try and make sure that at least the hearing of oral evidence is completed by the end of the year.
The Commission Secretary, Dr. De Vere, has taken special leave after being implicated in dodgy dealings with Bosasa. When do you expect him back at work? How far is the investigation? And is it not affecting the work of the Commission? In terms of the work of the Commission, there is an acting secretary. Everything is under control in terms of the work. There is somebody doing that work. The investigation has not been completed, but I will be briefed further tomorrow about how close we are to the point where we can say it's finalized, and then we'll take it from there. But we would like to make sure that it's finalized as soon as possible. And that's why we're going to leave it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Chief Justice.
Thank you very much.
Coming through. The chairperson of the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo.